I think individuals are stronger walking together than walking alone. So the whole idea of a warm handoff is instead of giving an individual, or a patient in our case, a piece of paper with a phone number and address and saying, leave, go get help. We're actually calling somebody and connecting that patient with a live person who's going to say, here, walk next to me as we go get help. It's that face-to-face, that warm touch, individualized process. Bcares is the name of the program that Penn Foundation runs that provides that warm handoff to our Upper Bucks campus. Bcares have come into our emergency department and not only worked in our emergency department when we were needing to connect those patients, but are also able to model recovery, are able to engage physicians, providers, nurses, and conversations on stigma. And we've created an 8-hour anti-stigma training. And the participants in that 8-hour training are really focused on our ED staff, so our ED providers, our ED nurse, our ED tech, and that will be the first round of this training. So the first 4 hours of that training is actually spent here on the Penn Foundation campus, and we get to work with your staff and learn things of motivational interviewing, stages of change, medication-assisted treatment. We expose the doctors to a more in-depth conversation with one of your certified recovery specialists. You take this same group and we walk over to your residential unit and we sit in a guided conversation with the residents that are here. That was hard for a lot of the ED staff to hear exactly how the patients viewed medicine and hospitals and how they have been traumatized or stigmatized when they've walked in because there's been a lack of eye contact or just not taking a second and asking them, what will it take to stop? We then go back to our Bethlehem campus and we go through patient-guided simulations where we have patient actors, standardized actors, who come in and portray some of these scenarios of what a patient would look like coming into the ED. But the team that was here, they try to put into place the things they learned that morning with the open-ended questioning, their body posture, and just acknowledging individuals where they're at. So our goal is, by the end of the year, all of our campuses, at least in the EDs, will have gone through this training. So it's really kind of got its way in, and then it has just grown and evolved into this beautiful partnership for our physicians, for our patients, but really it's more of that specific centered patient approach. St. Luke's has stepped back into space and said, you know, the patients that are coming in intoxicated or obviously impacted by substance use disorder, those are easy to identify. But there is a whole patient population that has the underlying addiction or concern of medication misuse. So for every patient that comes into our emergency departments, we use a screening tool called an expert, and we look to really identify, patients. And once a patient is identified, we look to provide those brief interventions. And one of the interventions is that warm handoff. This CRS program is amazing. An individual, once they're in recovery, in a minimum of 18 months, they're able to go through the Pennsylvania State Board certification program and actually take a training course on how to become a certified recovery specialist. At the end, they pass the test. So it's a very legitimate process. Most of our insurance companies actually funded a supplemental because they actually are now seeing the value of what it's like to have somebody with that lived experience partner with a patient. It's a very unique process because individuals in the throes of addiction through the changes in their brain chemistry or just through survival have developed potentially manipulated skills, codependency skills, and a certified recovery specialist could come in and they could kind of call you out on it and say, I've been there, you need to stop, let's regroup, let's think about this. I was in that bed, I was in that jail cell, I've been to where you are, so we're not gonna dance around the issue, but let's really talk, but I'm gonna get you to where you need to go. It's not a clinical service, which I think is one of the most amazing things about it. The true value of that certified recovery specialist is the relationship. And I think that's one of the main things that we have missed the mark on over these years is the value and the power that relationship building has, especially with the patients and the population we're serving. I've heard that it doesn't really matter what you know, it's how you portray it. And I think that's very true, that if you can create that relationship with somebody and make them feel peaceful, at ease, but also instill hope and joy and understanding, it really begins to change the impact of a patient. And that's where I really applaud Penn Foundation, and they were probably the first agency to use certified recovery specialists in a hospital setting across the state. Most of them were case managers that were employed. And at first you look at it and said, well, we really want to do certified recovery specialists? And Yeah, you stuck with it, and I think that was amazing, because I think you were able to create a sense of legitimacy to who they are as individuals, to the strength that they bring, and I think if you ever tried to separate them out of Upper Bucks, you'd have an uprising, because they are really part of that family. And what we've been able to learn from just them kind of like breaking that barrier and being able to now take the Penn Foundation model and being able to replicate it at other campuses, and we're starting to see the same results. And so, pioneers, trendsetters in that, it's been pretty awesome.